Ooh, these Science for Little Hearts and Hands are really sweet. This is from The Good and the Beautiful, and this one is Wind and Waves. There are 2 books. There's this reader book with science stories in it, and then the parent guide. Now, this covers a lot of stuff from weather and lights and colors and the ocean and animals. So it does have a lot of topics in it, which is great. And I'd like to show you inside it. Time for a real page turner. Okay, looking inside the Wind and Waves, Science for Little Hearts and Hands, you can see that the parent guide is a smaller book, and the big book of science stories really is quite a hefty book. So we'll take a look inside the parent guide first. This is the one that you'll go through with your kid. It's not a separate parent guide, it's one to do with them. Here are the table of contents. And this explains how the course works, the lesson overview of the things that you'll be doing, and more information, as well as a supply list for each week, which is super helpful to have right off at the front so you don't have to flip through the various pages to see what supplies you might need. Okay, so each lesson is set up the same. It's a 2-page spread. It tells you the lesson number up at the top and the supplies that you'll need for the lesson. At the beginning, there's some sort of opener here. You're checking off which comes next in the pattern. Well, if your child is. I mean, of course you can too, but and then here on this one, there's story time, which is where you'll read from the big book of science stories to them. And then they have some discussion questions and an activity. Here's another example of a lesson. Same thing, there's a little opening activity to do. And then the supply list here talking about making a prediction with the weather. And then here's an experiment. More pages for the experiment. And discussion questions at the end. And it pretty much follows that layout. So lesson 3 has a story from the big book of science stories, and then lesson 4 is going to be more of an experiment / activity, and they always end with discussion questions. And there are additional optional activities as well. So I'm just going to flip through this a little bit so you can get an idea of some of the pictures and activities that might be coming up. Covers a lot of really cool topics in here. And it's not too much, you know, for little kids sometimes too many factoids can be overwhelming or they lose interest, but this looks like it would be a good amount to do together and just kind of a fun thing. So here at the end they have these audio narration pawns, which are for certain lessons. So for example, the first one is lesson 4, the water cycle. We'll go back here. Aha, so it's for this game here where they're going along. Okay, and then to look inside the big book of science stories. Now, I have not read these ones with my son, but the other science storybook that we read, he really loved. He was about 6 years old then and enjoyed the stories and the pictures that were in them. So these will cover all different topics that go along with the week that you're in. Here I can show you too, maybe starting from a chapter heading so you can see just how many pages they are. Nice big pictures. This book here of science stories is $25, and the parent guide is $15. So that shows you how long it is. And at the end, this one has fun facts. Let's see if that's the same for all of them. Yes. So at the end, fun facts. So that would be really neat too. So you have the living book style story and then some fun facts at the end. Okay. You can see that there's lots of beautiful, bright pictures in here. Well, I hope this was a helpful look inside The Wind and the Waves, Science for Little Hearts and Hands by the Good and the Beautiful. Remember that real life is messy and beautiful, and better with books. And here at the end, audio narration pawns. Interesting. Oh, interesting. So you'd flip back to this book, which you know what, I'll show you later. Which will flip back to this book, and I'm sure they would explain how and what to do with those in the lesson. I don't think I want to say that. Remember that real life is messy and beautiful, and better with books. That threw me off because I just said the good and the beautiful. That's so funny.